one called Faker. I have done it! A perfect likeness of He-Man. Sometimes my power even amazes me. Faker, you must get the sorceress to leave Grayskull. Outside the castle, her magic is weaker, and I can overpower her. In this dim light, she'll think you're He-Man. Call her, Faker.
Yes, Master. Sorceress! Sorceress, please hear me.
He-Man.
Autobots, transform!
What is up, Master of the Universe fans? I am the 80s Transformers fan, and you're watching George Reviews. And on George Reviews today, our special guest is He-Man and the Master of the Universe Ultimate Skeletor, which is a filmation figure by Super 7. This is the brown mailer box. I'm going to pull this open, slide this guy out, see what is inside. And it is Skeletor, as promised on the package. So out of the box, we see Skeletor in the vintage style packaging with the red explosion of rocks flying at you. We don't know what's going on back there, whatever caused that. We never found out. In the little metallic Master of the Universe that we're so familiar from the 80s. And Skeletor, Lord of Destruction on the package. You can see his Havoc staff back here, almost packaged in a separate little bubble that juts out of the main bubble. The Filmation Skeletor inside. His Filmation axe, his Filmation sword, which previously came with different figures where you had to complete them in your classics line. He has an alternate head that oddly enough looks an awful lot like this head. I mean, it's like, is it different? Is it different? Is it? No, I don't think so. I don't know if I mentioned the diamond red disappearance, and this is different from the one we got with Lizard Man or Lizzie or whatever his name was. That had the molding to his hand. It's different. He has like a little mini poster in there. I gotta quit saying false comic, with a bio on the back. Ultimate edition for collectors. Spinning him around, and on the back of his box is some artwork made to look like the vintage artwork, or the vintage animation, I should say. And I think this is the vintage Snake Mountain behind him with new artwork right there, holding the Havoc staff above his head. I don't know if he's angry or celebrating. And right here is a little bit of bio. Oh, it actually says Skeletor shakes his horrible Havoc staff above his head while celebrating his latest plan. So I guess he is celebrating. Super 7 over here, they show you how to remove and reattach the different heads, and they look more different in the illustration here. You can see a more gape in the mouth. The actual toy looks the same, and some figures that you can also get from Super 7, and some of them that you can't get from Super 7 because they're no longer available. You can no longer get any of these from Super 7. You got to get them from third party, actually. Big Bad Toy Store and other stores out there like that for a nice little markup, like a $15 or more markup if they're still available. If not, there's always eBay. So, get Skeletor out of his packaging. Okay, so I gave it a slice down the side so I don't completely destroy my packaging, in case I ever want to put it back in. So slide the Havoc staff out. It feels very solid, feels very well made, just touching it briefly. And try to get Skeletor's bubble out. Again, without destroying the packaging, hopefully. Sort of kind of destroyed a little bit, but there it is. Pretty much intact. Put that to the side. On the back is more of a bio. Why they tape this thing down like this, I will never know. Or at least the tape didn't stick and ruin it. But here is the little collector card mini poster thing with Skeletor sitting on a bone throne. Again, this is new artwork. It looks like the old artwork, but it's new, I can tell. Lord of Destruction, turn it around, and here is more of a bio for him, which is very cool. You can pause that, read that. He has one tie around his waist and some ties on his feet. Pull the old bonehead out of the packaging, and we just dropped the diamond ray of disappearance, and one of his head squirted out. Where did it go? Oh, I get no, the axe squirted out. The axe, his Filmation sword. He actually was seen using a sword identical to He-Man's. I don't know if it's an animation mistake, but he actually had his half of the power sword a couple times in the animation. And here's a pic. Well, anyway, Skeletor out of here. The first thing we're going to look at is Skeletor Filmation. This is my first time having my hands on one. I actually own the previous one that I never opened. But man, that head looks gorgeous. I got a little bit of something wrong. Something paint air bubbles or something right here. I got a lot of light going on, so I can't see it on my monitor, but I see it with my naked eye. If you can see it, just a little bit going on there. Turn him around, scanning his body. There's really no paint on this guy. He's either purple plastic, blue plastic. The paint is like on the face, but the rest of it is like plastic on plastic, I believe. So not a lot going on there. I got a little bit of black right here. Nothing major. Oh, he has that new toy smell. He's got a lot more rubber or something going on than He-Man did. Smells awesome. Well, I guess his nails are painted. So paint right there. So I just brought up his head, so I'm gonna take a look at his head even further. Looks very, very Filmation inspired. He's wearing a hood. There's some black paint in there surrounding the yellow painted head. But yeah, it looks great. Looks great. I'm telling you, wow. So do articulation. He can look left and look right. I guess his hood back here is stopping him from completely going around. I probably could force it, but I'm not, because you get it. He can look up, surprisingly, and he's not holding it down. He's getting that bounce back. I found out when I was changing He-Man head, it's in the neck that's stopping it from bounce back. They did, instead of being a double pin with a ball on top, ball on the bottom, like a cotton swab, there's like a hinge system down in here, and I think that's the flaw. They changed that from Mattel's versions. Okay, we're gonna come to his arms. His arm this far. This is the standard buck that you have on all your Skeletors, except for maybe Laser Skeletor or something. But his arm's gonna come up this far. I'm gonna rotate it to shoulder. The little armor is very, very soft plastic, which I wish Mattel had used back in the day on the women here and everything else. But has no problem 360 in. Again, out to the side, has the biceps swivel. Bend at the elbow. Not a whole lot, but I guess that's enough. Coming to his wrist. His wrist has the hinge in there. In and out. And 360s. Coming to his waist. He has the ab crunch there. Crunches pretty well. And not that much back. A little pop right there, but it's a little bit in there. His waist 360. And coming to his legs, he has these rounded joints in there, allowing his legs to come out this far. Skeletor can get down. Yeah. Legs can go front to back this far. High hurdles. He also swivel at the upper thigh. Almost looked like a giant thigh-high boot coming up right there. 360 and on that swivel. He bends at the knee. Nice stiff knee joint in there. Coming down to his boot, he has a boot cut in there. Swivels all the way around if you wanted to. And the standard ankle joint on these figures rock from side to side, so you can get them in wide stance, and you can keep both his feet on the ground in the wide stance. So that is Skeletor's articulation and everything in a nutshell. The torso seems a little bit loose. Like once you get it past a certain point, it's a little loose. So, having done that, we're going to get Skeletor's accessories out here, and might as well start with the Havoc staff. I was very impressed by the Filmation 5.5 figure Havoc staff, and they pretty much duplicated it. And I would love to bring that figure out, but I can't find what I did with it, him or He-Man. But I reviewed it if you want to check it out. But the Havoc staff looks awesome. The little goat head, and it's supposed to be a crystal ball back here. It's just rounded goat head, or whatever, sheep head, ram head, whatever it is. You know, you get it. And the rest of it's done, this is painted over, and the rest of it's done in this purple plastic. And this is done in like that flat paint I complained about that always scrapes off, when they could have just did it like this. This doesn't have a super glossy finish to make it differentiate from the classics line, and it's just straight plastic, and they could have did this and stopped. So anyway, I'm going to try to, it is very, very thick, and his hand does not look that thick. So it looks like we're going to stretch the heck out of his hand. I'm going to try to get it as low as I can in his hand. And again, like with He-Man, I'm just smashing a thumb getting it in. That kind of bothers me. I'm not trying to lose a thumb over time like the 80s Joes. And yeah, it is very thick in his hand. So I'm gonna try to slide it down a little bit more. Oh, it just came out. Let's go again, Skeletor. Let's go again. I'm gonna have to move the thumb over manually instead of it just coming around. That little plastic they use that's not cool. So yeah, it's he's not holding it that great. Trying to slide it down where okay. Now we got it. I got it in frame. So there his Skeletor is with the Havoc staff, and they could have made it a little bit thinner. I know this is probably more accurate than probably supposed to look, but I mean he needs to hold it. Yeah, I got him to hold it with 2 hands, but it's not very dynamic, I don't think. If I turn it like this and get him like this, yeah, I guess that's better. And voila, I was able to get Skeletor's Havoc staff over his head with a minimal amount of fuss. And man, looking at this head, it's gigantic now that I've looked at it. Like that face, I guess they're trying to get that expression, that jaw open. Makes his head look huge, but yeah, I think I pretty much mimicked it pretty well. What do you think? Yeah, He-Man! Sword. He wielded this sword a couple times. They actually gave him away when he was in disguise one time, bringing like the little jade head to King Randor, and it turned Men-at-Arms to Crystal, and they had to go find Granomir. Yeah, man, it took some doing. They got this little handle so fat. Took a little doing to get it in his hand. Like they didn't have to make. I guess they tried to make sure these guys didn't drop the weapons, because that was like a problem with the last run, the Super 7's version, where the hands were loose and really wasn't holding the weapons down. So here he is with that Filmation sword, with the same emblem on the sword it is on his chest, the little crossed bones right there. And get that out of there into his axe, which he actually uses as a crystal ball. We've seen this a couple times in the early Filmation episodes, and then it wound up disappearing. This was basically a take on He-Man's battle axe from the vintage toy line, and they just put like the little sorcerer's crystal ball on top of that. And that's what the little story behind this version of the axe. Looks very good in his hand, and I'm sure I can 2-hand grip it with a little effort. Yep. And like the grip at the top is like where the other weapons, how big the other weapons should be. Thickness, I should say. And he holds that just fine. Get that out of his hand. Jump over to Skeletor's, I guess, laughing head. I guess you can see the jaw is a little more agape. Yeah, I can see it. They should have did a little bit more with the eyes closing in. Or they're actually wider. These eye sockets are more rounded, and he's giving like a little bit more of an expression over here. I see it now. Just had to look a little bit harder and stop running my mouth. So, and the paint's done better. He doesn't have that little problem under his eye, around the eye over there. So pop that off. But again, the sculpts are so close that man, I don't see where they could have did better with these different heads. If I got it on, I don't think I got it on all the way. Or maybe I do. So this is a secondary head, and they are so close. They should have gave him that shocked expression, like when He-Man deflects beams back at him, and he makes that look like, oh my goodness. And I think I got a picture. Everybody, do not hate me because I never opened this figure. But I'm going to bring it out to show you some of the differences. The purple on this one is a lot darker. The face sculpt is actually different. He has more expression than I guess would be like the eyebrow thing over his eye socket. He's painted black behind the skull around the edges. And on this one it's all just purple. Only the inner mouth and eyes are painted black. Havoc staff looks pretty much the same. And he also has this sword that he had in the mini comics, and I think that and the Havoc staff was the only 2 accessories, and the Havoc staffs look pretty much the same. They got a slight difference in the paint job, but they look pretty much the same. Okay, there's no paint in the mouth of this one, and there's paint in the mouth of that one, but they're pretty close to being the same. Nothing major that jumps out at you. And this blue is a little bit more pale on the Mattel version than this one. And Yeah, pretty much same. And then the ankles, they changed the ankles. I'm sorry you can't see the ankles in there. They had like the ankles that everybody hated, but it never really bothered me. And I think it never really bothered me because I never really opened it. So he has like the corrected ankles on here, the more aesthetically pleasing version. So that is your differences between the Super 7 and the Mattel Filmation Skeletor. Alright, last but not least comparison, here's Super 7's Filmation and here's Mattel's Classics version. Is based on the vintage figure, and there's huge differences all around. Zoom in, I mean you can actually see it. I don't have to break this down. From the Havoc staffs to the paint on the skull to the design of the skull to the design of the armor, all the way down to the feet. So huge differences there. And that is a look at that. Final thoughts on this figure. He's done very well. Super 7 is coming along. They're getting it together. I used to gripe and complain about every figure they drop, but the last few have been good. He-Man was done well. This one is done well. And you can no longer get it from Super 7. You got to go get it on the aftermarket, track it down. It's usually $15 overpriced or more now. He retailed at Super 7 for $35 plus shipping, which I think is a little high. But anyway, he's worth the pickup. It is Super 7's Filmation Ultimate Skeletor. I am George, the 80s Transformer fan. You just watched a review where every toy has a story.